All right, Bills Mafia, buckle up because things are getting real at training camp and not in the way anyone was hoping. Injuries are piling up, tension is brewing, and suddenly what felt like a smooth ramp up to the regular season now has a few bumps in the road. Let's dive into what's happening in Orchard Park and why this past week might end up being one of the most important stretches of the entire preseason. Let's start with Khalil Shakir. Man, you could see he was trying to tough it out against Baltimore. He gave it a go, but his body was clearly telling him, not today. The ankle just isn't right. And now, instead of pushing through it and risking something worse, the team's going to have to take the cautious route. That means time on the sidelines, and not just for a couple of days. We're talking at least a few weeks, maybe more, depending on how his rehab goes. And listen, this is a guy who many believe could be the most heavily targeted receiver on this roster. He's got chemistry with Josh Allen, he runs crisp routes, and his football IQ is off the charts. But none of that matters if he's not physically right. The last thing the Bills need is for this to become a nagging injury that lingers through the entire season. It's all about getting him fully healthy so he can be that consistent weapon they're counting on. And then you look at the rest of the injury list and it just keeps growing. Offensive lineman Cedric Van Pran-Granger hasn't practiced once during camp. Cornerback Maxwell Harrison is out for several weeks with a sprained LCL. Alec Anderson had his knee scoped. Safety Cole Bishop is dealing with a quad issue. Wide receivers Curtis Samuel and Caden Prather are both banged up. Linebackers Dorian Williams and Shaq Thompson are also sidelined. And in Shaq's case, it's a hamstring problem that might take some time. Taylor Rapp's nursing a knee injury, and kicker Tyler Bass is still working through pelvic soreness. That's a long list of names. Many of them guys the Bills are counting on to play real roles this year. And it doesn't stop there. A few players were limited in Sunday's practice. Wideout Josh Palmer is managing a groin issue, same with fullback Reggie Gilliam. Linebacker Terrell Bernard and right tackle Spencer Brown were both out there. But on pitch counts. Now, the positive spin here is that Brown was activated over the weekend and seems to be trending in the right direction. Same with Bernard, getting closer to full participation. So not everything is doom and gloom. But yeah, there's concern. And then we get to the James Cook situation. This might be the most eyebrow-raising development of the week. Because here's the thing: McDermott spoke to the media before Sunday's practice, ran through the list of guys who weren't going to be out there, but he didn't say a word about Cook. And then practice starts, and James Cook isn't suited up. He's in street clothes on the sidelines just watching. Naturally, reporters start asking questions. Elena Getzenberg goes up to Cook after practice and asks why he didn't participate. His response, one word: business. She follows up, will he be practicing tomorrow again? Business. That was it. Over and over, that was his only explanation. And the team, no official comment, no clarification. Just silence. So now we're staring down what sure looks like a holding. Not a holdout. He's showing up, he's around, he's just not practicing. It's a statement. And to me, it's clear what this is a signal. Cook wants a new deal, or at the very least, he wants to create urgency. And this isn't just speculation. Tom Pelissero reported that Cook and the team have been in frequent communication and aren't all that far apart on a potential contract. That lines up with some whispers heard earlier in the week. Nothing concrete, but there was definitely a vibe that things were heading in a good direction. But now it seems like Cook wants to accelerate the process. He wants to apply some pressure and make it clear that he's serious about getting something done. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The Bills have leverage. They've been through this kind of thing before and haven't shown a tendency to cave quickly under pressure. Brandon Beane doesn't hand out contracts just because someone makes noise. And Cook, he's got a ton of value, arguably the most touches of anyone not named Josh Allen. But the question is, how far is he willing to push this? Is this a minor bump in the road that gets resolved in a few days? Or is this going to turn into a bigger issue like we've seen with other players across the league recently? Think Terry McLaurin. Think Micah Parsons. Situations that escalated quickly and publicly. And let's be real, HBO's Hard Knocks must be eating this up. The timing perfect. Cameras are rolling and the drama unfolds just in time for their big Tuesday night debut. You got your storylines: Josh Allen's leadership, McDermott's tone, Beane's front office moves, and now Cook's holding. It's all there. Cliffhanger included. What does it mean long term? That's the million-dollar question. Cook is an essential piece of this offense. If he's not on the field week 1 against Baltimore, that's a big deal. Yes, the Bills have other capable backs. Ty Johnson, rookie Ray Davis, even the occasional gadget plays. But let's not pretend like they're interchangeable with a guy like Cook. He's explosive, he's versatile, and he's clearly evolved into more than just a running back. He's a core part of the offensive identity. And honestly, if you watched practices this past week like I did, you could feel how crucial the running backs are to this year's offense. There's a noticeable uptick in passes going to the backs. And we're not just talking checkdowns or flat routes. We're seeing vertical concepts, screen games, wheel routes, the full arsenal. That's not something you'll emphasize in camp unless you plan to feature it in games. The efficiency last year throwing to backs was off the charts, near the top of the league. The only thing missing was volume. So if this trend continues, if the Bills really are trying to unlock that next gear with their backs in the passing game, then yeah, James Cook is even more vital. And here's the thing, even if Cook misses a few practices, I'm not panicking. He knows the offense, he's got the trust of the staff, and he's not the kind of player who needs every single rep to be game ready. But the longer this goes on, the more awkward it becomes. You can't afford distractions, especially not when you're trying to integrate so many new pieces on offense. We're talking rookie receivers, a retooled O-line, and a new play caller. Chemistry matters, timing matters. Speaking of new pieces, let's talk wide receivers. Keon Coleman is without a doubt the story of the room right now. The rookie's making splash plays all over the field, highlight grabs, physical contested catches, toe taps near the sideline. He looks the part of a perimeter weapon who can be trusted in big moments. But let's not sugarcoat it, there have been drops. Frustrating. Runs 2, throws right on the money where he just doesn't complete the catch. And that's part of the rookie learning curve. You take the good with the bad, but man, the upside is clear. When he's locked in, he's a beast. You're not going to see sudden twitchy separation from him, but that's not his game. He wins with size, body control, and physicality. And so far, the Bills are putting him in a position to do exactly that. What's more surprising is how injuries have reshuffled the rest of the depth chart. With Curtis Samuel and others sidelined, we've seen guys like Christian Wilkerson getting serious run with the first team. 28 years old, bounced around a bit with the Patriots and Rams, but now he's in the mix. Stephen Gosnell, an undrafted rookie out of Virginia Tech, also getting some looks. And then there's the trio that seems to be emerging as the top set in 11 personnel. Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer, and Khalil Shakir when healthy. Which makes me wonder, where does Elijah Moore fit in? What's the role for Curtis Samuel once he's back? That's the part that's still cloudy. And listen, let's not forget about the tight ends. Dalton Kincaid's been quietly excellent. It feels like no one wants to talk about him, maybe because the hype train burned out last year. But watching him live, you see the difference. His route running is sharp. He's catching balls in traffic. He had a ridiculous touchdown grab in the red zone where he created leverage and came down with the ball in tight coverage. The chemistry with Josh Allen, definitely there. And for a team that's still figuring out what their offensive identity will be, post-Diggs having a tight end who can be a mismatch nightmare is a massive advantage. Even the blocking tight end group has promise. Jackson Hall has shown he can handle his assignments in the run game, and while he's not a polished receiver, there's a baseline there that gives the coaching staff something to work with. For a third-string guy, you could do a lot worse. And then we get to the offensive line. The unsung heroes. Injuries have opened the door for some surprising names to step up. The one that caught my eye most, Mike Edwards. This dude is massive. Like you see him walk onto the field and you do a double take. He's got that rare build you just don't see often. And despite being in a 370-pound range, he moves shockingly well. Quick feet, balanced base holds up in drills. He spent last year on the practice squad, but he's taken a leap. Now, I'm not saying he's locking down a roster spot. That's a tough road with the current depth, but he's making it hard for the coaches to ignore him. Injuries to Alec Anderson and Cedric Van Pran-Granger have forced the Bills to shuffle things up front. And that's given guys like Richard Gorage, Tykeem Doss, and Ryan Van Demark more reps. Even Travis Clayton, the rugby player, is getting second-team reps at tackle. So yeah, there's opportunity. And right now, Mike Edwards is seizing his. All right, that's where we are on the offensive side of the ball. The injuries are stacking up, the Cook situation is looming, and the roster battles are starting to heat up. There's real competition brewing, and preseason games are going to matter a lot, not just for depth chart decisions, but for team chemistry and momentum. Alright, let's shift gears and get into the second half of the breakdown, because while the offense has its own drama and injuries to sort through, the defensive side of the ball might be even more intriguing. If you watch the practices this past week and really paid attention to the alignments, the communication, and how aggressive this group is flying around, you start to feel like this defense is hungry to rewrite the narrative. Let's start up front. The defensive line is looking physical, fast, and deeper than it's been in a long time, but health is again big question mark. With Shaq Thompson sidelined with a hamstring, the rotation gets thinner, and that's where some of the newer guys are trying to earn their spot. You can see that the coaching staff is experimenting a lot, bringing pressure from multiple angles, moving guys around, showing simulated pressures, and then backing out into zone. It's chaos with purpose. They're not just trying to confuse. The offense, they're trying to condition the defense to be ready for anything. Leonard Floyd and Greg Rousseau look like the two anchors off the edge right now. But what really caught my attention was the usage of AJ Epinesa. He slimmed down, looks more explosive, and they're letting him attack the B gap in certain sub packages. He's not just lining up wide and trying to bend the edge anymore. He's becoming a versatile piece in this rotation. Boogie Basham also got plenty of reps. And while the production isn't necessarily flashy, he's doing the little things that keep him on the field, setting the edge, maintaining gap integrity, cleaning up backside runs. But the guy who may have elevated his stock the most during the week was Kingsley Jonathan. He's all motor, every rep is full throttle, and while he's still raw in some areas, the effort and explosion stand out, especially in one-and-owns. Inside, Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver are doing what they do, but it's Jordan Phillips who's trying to remind everyone he can still play. Coming off injuries and inconsistency, he showed up with a fire this week, winning reps with power disrupting, timing in the run game, and generally looking like a guy who's not ready to be written off. Poona Ford's role is still unclear. He's flashing occasionally, but he hasn't really separated himself in the rotation. And that's what makes this group so intriguing. There's depth, there's flexibility. They can go with a bigger, beefier front if they want to control the run, or they can lean into speed and chaos on passing downs. It gives McDermott options. And when he's calling the defense like he is now, you can expect those options to be fully explored. Now, linebackers. And this is where it gets tricky. Terrell Bernard, when healthy, is the guy in the middle. No question. But he's coming off a limited workload, and it's not clear when he'll be full go. That opens the door for Dorian Williams, or at least it would if he were healthy, but he's also dealing with an injury. So that left a ton of snaps for Baylon Spector and AJ Klein. And while those two guys are both smart, assignment sound, and steady, you don't get the same sideline to sideline speed or coverage versatility that Bernard brings. This is one of the most important questions the Bills have to answer before week 1, who's wearing the green dot and leading this unit on game day. Another name that's worth mentioning here is rookie Edefuan Ulofoshio. He's gotten sprinkled in here and there, mostly with the second and third team, but you can see why the Bills liked him. He's instinctive, he's physical, and he reacts quickly, sometimes too quickly. But that's something you live with when coaching up a rookie. I'd be surprised if he cracked the starting lineup early, but he feels like a guy who's going to make this roster and contribute on special teams right away. Which brings us to the secondary. And oh man, this group has questions and competition everywhere. We'll start with the corners. Tre'Davious White is gone, so the top outside job now belongs to Christian Benford, and he's looked the part. He's physical at the line of scrimmage, patient with his technique, and disruptive at the catch point. Dane Jackson has also held his own, but it's been clear that Benford is a little more consistent. Kyer Elam, on the other hand, remains a mystery. There are days when he looks like a future star. Aggressive, sticky in man coverage, willing to tackle. And then there are days where his technique breaks down and he gets flagged or beaten over the top. The talent is there, but the consistency isn't. And it's hard to see him earning a full-time starting role until that changes. At nickel, Taron Johnson is still the guy. No debate there. But he's had a heavy workload, and with all the injuries, at safety, you can see the staff experimenting with 3 safety looks or different dime packages. That brings us to the back end where the storylines just keep coming. With Micah Hyde retired and Jordan Poyer gone, the safety room has been completely overhauled. Taylor Rapp, who was expected to step into a major role, is currently out with a knee issue. Cole Bishop, the promising rookie, is also sidelined with a quad. That left Cam Lewis and Damar Hamlin getting a ton of reps, and both have had their moments. Lewis in particular looks like a guy who could steal a starting job if things break right. He's fast, he communicates well, and he's always around. The football. Hamlin obviously brings that inspirational energy, but he's also become more decisive. He's reacting faster, and you can see the instinct starting to match the athleticism. It's a crowded room, and the competition is far from over, but right now the Bills are in a place where they need at least one of these guys to take full control of a starting role. And special teams, yes, let's talk about it, because there's a real battle brewing at punter. Brad Robbins, the rookie from Michigan, has been booming punts in practice, but it's not just about distance. His hang time and placement have been sharp. He's giving the coverage units a chance to make plays. But Matt Hack is still around, still steady, and still trusted by the coaching staff. It's going to come down to consistency in the preseason. Games! One shank at the wrong time could flip the whole conversation, but based on what I've seen, Robbins has the edge. Barely. Kicker-wise, Tyler Bass is dealing with that pelvic soreness. He hasn't been a full participant. And while there's no panic yet, anytime your starting kicker is limited during camp, you pay attention. The team's monitoring it closely, and I'd expect them to be cautious, but if this lingers into late August, it could become more than just a footnote. Return game, still wide open. With Deontay Hardy gone, there's a real opportunity here. Guys like Andy Isabella, Khalil Shakir, when healthy, and even rookie Keon Coleman have been rotating in during special teams drills. No one's taking full control. Yeah, but again, preseason game reps are going to matter a ton here. So yeah, a lot going on. The injuries are affecting everything. Depth, chemistry, rotations. But you can also see the upside. This is a team that still has its core intact. Josh Allen is leading the offense, the defensive line is fast and physical, and the coaching staff is pushing for competition at every spot. There's urgency, there's pressure, and with the AFC looking as loaded as ever, there's no room for slow starts or wasted opportunities. But the wild card here, the thing that might shape how we remember this camp, is James Cook. If this holding turns into something bigger, if it becomes a standoff, or starts to fracture the locker room vibe, it changes everything. This isn't just about one guy missing reps. It's about time and identity trust. The Bills want to be aggressive. They want to be balanced. They want to use their running backs in creative ways. But that only works if your top guy is bought in and available. So yeah, training camp's only a couple weeks in, but we've already got storylines, drama position, battles, and questions that might not get answered until week 1. Or even later. And in true Bills fashion, it's never boring. The standard is high, the expectations are higher, and the margin for error practically zero. Keep your eyes on this team, because the next 2 or 3 weeks are going to tell us a whole lot about how prepared the Bills really are for what's coming. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. The sports world is abuzz with an electrifying rumor that has taken the NFL community by storm. Josh Allen, the star quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, might be on the move after an unprecedented season that many consider one of the greatest in recent memory. Allen's performance this past year was nothing short of spectacular, shattering records and carrying the Bills to heights the franchise hadn't seen in decades. His arm strength, mobility, and leadership on the field have cemented him as one of the elite quarterbacks in the league, making the speculation all the more shocking. Industry insiders and analysts are beginning to question the stability within the Bills organization, speculating that behind closed doors there could be tensions or strategic disagreements prompting Allen's potential departure. The implications of such a move are massive, not only for the Bills but for the entire NFL landscape. Could this be the dawn of a new era where one of the game's brightest stars seeks a fresh challenge or a bigger stage? Or is this just media? Hype fueled by the whirlwind of emotions following an extraordinary season. Fans are divided, some devastated at the thought of losing their franchise cornerstone, while others are curious to see how this story might unfold. The possibility that Allen could leave Buffalo has ignited conversations about his future destinations and what this means for the Bills' championship aspirations moving forward. Adding fuel to this wildfire of speculation, sources close to The situation hinted at possible contract disputes or differences in vision between Allen and the Bills front office. Despite the quarterback's undeniable success, the behind-the-scenes dynamics might not be as harmonious as fans believe. Negotiations over contract terms, future investments in the team, or even the offensive scheme could be points of contention. Allen, known for his competitive nature and desire to win at the highest level, may feel that his current environment is no longer conducive to achieving ultimate success. Rumors suggest that multiple teams are circling, ready to offer Allen lucrative deals and a chance to be the centerpiece of a new franchise. Cities like Los Angeles, Miami, and even some unexpected contenders are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, anticipating a blockbuster trade or free agency signing. The ripple effect of Allen's potential move would shake up the quarterback market significantly, influencing the strategies of many teams aiming to build around a proven elite talent. Media outlets have been speculating non-stop, with some insiders even suggesting that the Bills might be preparing to pivot toward a rebuild if Allen does decide to leave, a move that would signal a dramatic shift in their organizational philosophy. Moreover, this rumor gains traction when considering Allen's rise from a relatively unheralded draft pick to one of the faces of the NFL. His journey has been nothing short of inspirational, showcasing his work ethic, resilience, and determination. Such a background makes the idea of him suddenly walking away from Buffalo all the more intriguing. Could Allen be seeking a new challenge? Perhaps to prove himself in a different market or under a different coaching staff. It's conceivable that after reaching personal and team milestones, he might be motivated by a desire to cement his legacy elsewhere, possibly chasing a Super Bowl ring with a team better stocked with complementary pieces. The Bills have invested heavily in surrounding talent, but some reports suggest Allen wants even more aggressive moves in free agency or the draft to build a championship caliber roster. If the team's commitment doesn't match his ambition, the quarterback might see moving on as the best option to maximize his prime years. The narrative swirling around Allen's future not only sparks debate among fans and analysts, but also serves as a reminder of the complex interplay between player ambitions, team goals, and the unpredictable nature of professional sports careers. Adding another layer of complexity to this growing saga is the cultural and emotional aspect of Allen's tenure with the Bills. He has become synonymous with Buffalo's resurgence, embodying the city's gritty, hard-working ethos. The possibility of his departure raises questions about loyalty, legacy, and the emotional bonds between player and fan base. Would Allen's exit mark a bittersweet turning point, or would it ignite a fire under the organization to reassert itself quickly in the competitive AFC landscape? The narrative could unfold in countless ways, but one thing is certain: the impact of such a decision would be profound. The Bills fans, known for their passionate support, would be faced with the challenge of embracing a new era without the quarterback who transformed their team into a perennial contender. Meanwhile, the media circus surrounding Allen would intensify, with speculation about his next destination dominating headlines and social media feeds. The story might evolve into one of the most captivating off-season sagas in NFL history, with every move scrutinized and every rumor dissected. The potential ripple effects extend far beyond Buffalo, affecting player morale, team dynamics across the league, and even future draft strategies as franchises prepare for a world with or without Josh Allen leading the charge. Finally, as the offseason approaches, the NFL world waits with bated breath for clarity amid the swirling rumors. Will Josh Allen truly depart Buffalo after a historic season? Or is this just an elaborate distraction in the media landscape? The timing, motives, and behind-the-scenes developments remain shrouded in mystery, adding to the intensity of the speculation. The Bills organization, known for its typically disciplined public relations approach, has yet to comment directly on the reports, fueling even more curiosity. If Allen does leave, the ramifications will be felt throughout the league, affecting team-building strategies, fan loyalties, and the balance of power in the NFL. Alternatively, if he stays, the narrative might shift toward how the Bills plan to build around their superstar to finally capture the elusive championship. Either way, this rumor has already captivated the sports world, demonstrating how one player's future can dominate conversations and redefine expectations. For now, the buzz continues to grow, with every insider tidbit and anonymous source adding layers to what could be one of the most dramatic chapters in NFL history. Now, whether truth or speculation, the Josh Allen saga promises to be a story worth following closely as the offseason unfolds. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.